Yes, that was right. Hi, I'm Bill DeYoung, still pushing buttons like a crazy man. This is the Catalyst Sessions, and the record button is on. We're recording this Wednesday afternoon to bring to you Wednesday evening or whenever you'd like to watch it. Very happy to say that my good friend Jeremy Douglas is back with us. Hello, my friend.
Oh, hello.
You lost some hair since we saw you last.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I'm balding. Uh, I don't know who I'm maintaining hair for. Actually, my wife kind of likes it like this, so
Yeah,
kind
I
of
used to
does it
I used to
off.
think that I would just shave my head and see what happened, and
That's
then
that's
I
where I
don't.
was. It was like I'm either gonna let my wife near me with some scissors, or I'm gonna go to a hair salon, or I'm gonna buzz it off. So
Did you just take a razor? And is that the first time you've ever done that?
no, I buzzed my hair once a long time ago. I made a mohawk for Halloween. I committed to it, and uh, and then when Halloween was over, I just buzzed the mohawk off.
Well, that was a creative decision.
Yeah,
This this
right.
I mean this time, I mean, I have to say that someone like shaving their head is either like early signs of Britney Spears style dementia,
Okay.
or you had to physically do something because you were going absolutely batshit crazy.
Can
Was
I
it some variation on those one of those
can I
themes?
pick a little of both?
Yeah.
You know, a little of both. Yeah. I don't know. I just get tired of thinking about hair. I think.
Yeah, no, I can see your point. I tried to grow mine long during the first few months of the coronavirus, and
Yeah.
I ended up looking like Larry Fine in the Three Stooges.
There. See. Yeah. And the longer mine grows out, the balder I look. Because it just
Hmm.
it just shows off where it's thinning out, like right here. So I don't. I'd
Well,
rather. Yeah.
let me get right to it.
Sure.
It has been 3 months and change since we last spoke
Yeah.
through this very weird platform here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, what have these 3 months been like for you? I mean, do you feel defeated? Do you feel like I'm waiting for my second win? How are you feeling?
I. I. Honestly, I guess. I think in the beginning I rode this like wave of positivity and motivation.
Hmm.
Um, I saw that the pandemic was like the perfect opponent to unite everybody. It's indiscriminate, and so we're all equal in its path.
Hmm.
But so I rode that wave. I believe that we were going to usher ourselves into like some new Star Trek future where we finally figure out how to live together, and and uh, and that carried me through a lot of projects, through a lot of inspiration, and then the George Floyd happened, and I think
Yeah.
it just took the wind out of my sails, as far as like one, I was getting ready to start another large scale project where the message was, hey, remember the arts when, as this is going on by, remember the venues. I had this message of hope from artists and venues to audiences. That's where I was going with this Beach Boys song we were going to do.
Hmm.
Um, but then the conversation shifted, and I realized I didn't really, I wasn't called to speak anymore. I didn't really feel like I was called to participate in that conversation. I was called to listen to it. The conversation changed completely from the arts and the
Yeah.
individual impact of the pandemic. The conversation just shifted wildly to how we live together, you know, and
I, I
and
don't
so,
think it's any accident that the protests and what caused them has happened in the middle of the pandemic and happened at this time.
right.
I mean, people who speak in biblical terms, I'm not one of them. It's like, look, it's just they're going to hammer you. Whoever, whatever, is going to hammer you with this awful stuff.
Yeah.
until you figure it out that you have to live together.
Right. Right. And up until the pandemic, um, I always thought about the state of the world and what it was going to take to overthrow the systems of power that marginalize people and commodify us, and turn us into just, uh, they don't care about us. They don't care about any of us.
Mm.
The only way to overthrow this kind of power is a massive general strike, but nobody could afford to go on a general strike. But then the pandemic hit, and now seems like nobody can afford not to.
It's like nobody can move.
Right.
I mean, and obviously, this isn't probably the forum to
No,
go
no.
into
I,
to
you can edit
overthrow
all this out.
it. But it's almost like what I was saying before. I mean, it's almost like change is being forced upon us.
Yeah,
Like you
yeah.
either do something about this or you die.
I
You know,
think, yeah, I agree. There were several weeks when the protests in the cities were on fire, and it was just, it was just traumatizing to watch it. And I I didn't feel like I needed to create anything for that. You know,
understood.
I
Yeah.
didn't feel like the messages that I wanted to talk about the arts were really relevant anymore. At least temporarily, at least during that time. I still not haven't decided yet if they're relevant. Like if I want to go back to having that old conversation again about performing arts and getting everybody back to work, and wouldn't it be so great when we're all together with audiences again? It feels so trite to me now. I miss it. I miss the work, but I think we're grappling with bigger things, and nobody wants to see a guy like me speak up at this time about a conversation that nobody's having, or 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 a conversation that is for another time.
Well, isn't it also true that there's great truth in those conversations in the beginning about the healing power of arts. And let's take the middle section out of the current horrors out of it for a minute. The
Yeah,
fact is that, and it does sound very cliched when we say it now in this context, the arts are very important to us,
yeah,
and it's not like it's just gone away, like something far more immediate and devastating has taken its place. Eventually we cannot live without music and art and each other, right? And so that whatever happens, and I don't say that lightly, but whatever happens, the arts are always going to be there, and it's going to come back. My
yeah.
phone is buzzing. Sorry.
I heard that from over here. I agree with you, and I'm still trying to like internalize a lot of the advice that like people like David Jenkins give me, that the arts is part of the relief effort. The arts is the relief effort.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I'm still trying to internalize that, like trying to figure out like how I can be a part of that, because I want to.
Yeah.
I need to feel the relief as much as I want to help provide it. Um, I just haven't figured out like what that's going to look like. You know?
Well, I think too, and this is really getting deep and philosophical, but I think I understand that when there are much heavier beasts playing out in the street, anyone who works in the arts would think, I don't matter, I'm a court jester compared to this serious stuff that's going on. Um, that trivializes what you do, and who you are and the contributions you do make to your community and to yourself. Um, Listen, did you tell me before we went on that you haven't played the piano in a couple of months?
I haven't. I mean, I play for my family. I've been playing on. I've been doing some projects at home, like recording projects and stuff like that. For Cassandra Rose, I'm working on a record with her. But as far as
Okay.
like performing for people, no, I haven't. I haven't performed for anybody since we did Martha, My Dear, at your at that at the one of the first interviews you did
Yeah, April something,
back in the
early
old days.
April. And you were full of, you were making those videos for the orchestra.
I was ready to go. I was ready to follow the world where it changed for the better. Um, and we're still I'm still ready.
I want to say, I mean, there's a certain defeated look about you, and it's rather it's a little disconcerting. I got to tell you, because the music is in you, and I can't believe that it's squelched so
No,
far.
it's not. I think I came to a moment where like the taking on a project was more was more than I had to give, and
Mhm.
it was taken away from the three other people that live in this house with me. It was taking time away from them, and at a time when the world was really growing darker, I felt like I needed to stop thinking about projects so much and start being a dad and a husband more
Sure.
more in the day to day of this out, and maybe also realizing that work is an escape from other responsibilities too, and so um you know I guess I just sort of stopped working and started being in the other part of the house more often than back here. um that's not to say that I'm done. I've got some projects that I want to do. I'm talking with some people about some really exciting ideas.
Yeah.
um, you know but so far, nothing's really jumped out of me that said, I must do this now. It needs to be made. Most of the time I do a project, it's because I want to see it done, you know and more often than not, I want to see other things done that aren't art projects. I want to see justice done, and so
Yeah.
it's taken my mind off of wanting to see, songs come together. And I get it. I know there's a place in the world for activist art, for protest art. I've never felt like that's my voice. It,
Yeah.
you know, I'm I just want to make people happy for a couple hours. I don't really know how to speak to this moment.
I mean, is there a sense in you, and I feel like anything I say about it trivializes because it's so important. But is there a sense in you that yeah, the seed is still in me that one day, what is normal anymore? Will it come back in whatever myriad form it takes?
I don't know. I think, ultimately we're just going to evolve with it. Eh, You know, I think it's just evolved faster than I could for the past couple months, and I'm catching up. You know,
What's your day like now? You said you spending more time with your son.
well, yeah, and my little girl Juniper.
Yard work? What are we talking
Um,
about?
you know, I we let's see, what do we do? He likes to play a lot of video games, so I've been pulling him away from that into board games. So we just bought a bunch of new board games and we're learning them. So that's kind of like, some of them are complex and complicated little systems of game mechanics, and we're figuring them out together. So it's keeping our brains active. Just we
Yeah.
don't go anywhere. We walk almost every night through the neighborhood, like a 2 mile walk,
Oh yeah.
usually up to a friend of his house, so he can see his neighborhood friend a few times a week. Just we stand out in the street and they stay up in their driveway.
Yeah.
um, this is the world now. It's like it's just inside this house, and our walks in the neighborhood, and yeah, I haven't really, you just haven't been moved to do anything other than that. That feels like the important stuff right now.
What kind of board games do you play? Give me some names.
Oh man, we got this one called um, Ghost Stories. Um, all the board games that we bought are cooperative board games, mind
Hmm.
you. They're not competitive. We don't play against each other. We're on the same team. We win together. We lose together.
Yeah.
Um, Ghost Stories is like, it's like a story game. It has a narrative. It's really artfully done. It's beautiful. You play as warriors defending a small village from a barrage of ghosts. It's very complicated and really brainy kind of gaming, and I kind of like it.
So it's a little more adventurous than Shoots and Ladders or
Yeah,
Candyland or something.
yeah, it is. It is, and honestly, it's mostly I think it's for him. It's keeping his mind active because uh, I I don't there's not much stimulus for him except us. There's no friends. There's no play dates. There's
Mhm.
we're still taking quarantine pretty seriously. Um, if I pulled him out of school a few days before spring break because it seemed like the, the schools were taking a long time to make this decision that seemed obvious to me.
Right.
uh, you know, and now we're opening when things are just 1,000 times worse than they were right before spring break.
Yeah.
So we still take all this very seriously. I haven't changed our regimen and how we clean things that are coming into the house and how close we get to people when they come by and talk to us.
Would you say that in a way, maybe in a Hallmark card sort of way, that it's made you and your children, the four of you, I guess, in your house, you have two kids, yeah?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
made you appreciate each other more. I mean,
absolutely.
do your kids feel that way too, do you think?
I'm not sure. I know that the youngest, Juniper, she's about to be 4.
Mm,
She's blissfully having the best time ever. Everybody's home all
yeah.
the time. There's nothing better for her than this. So she's loving this. Uh, Joel, my oldest, he's 10. He's struggling with the separation from friends. Um, his world, which was just you know getting larger and larger and larger, has just shrunk down again. um, so as far as like his social world, it's
Yeah.
it's shrunk down to me and my wife and Juniper and his couple friends that he plays video games with.
It's like
Really
it can
hard.
go one of two ways. I mean, you can either sort of build a new kind of family tree, root system, or you can all hate each other. Like,
Yeah, well, we're not doing that. I
yeah,
think
well,
as a
good.
as a as a unit, we are definitely stronger. We have not had to struggle to learn how to live together like this so persistently, which
Mm,
was really wonderful to discover. That's one thing that I discovered in this process of closing up shop and setting ourselves away from the world. Yeah, we're going to find out like how well do we really get along as a group, and it's been remarkably positive. Like, I'm I feel like we're fortunate.
yeah.
You know.
Well, I would never wish any of these circumstances on any generation, including the one that was around when my kids were that age.
Yeah.
But something like this kind of forced, not forced in the word, necessary togetherness
Yeah.
might have worked for us very well too in
Yeah.
those days. I would have taken TV out of the equation back in those days, but I don't think we were smart enough yet. I suppose
Right.
you don't do that.
Well, we do limit like sit and watch television time. He gets some video game time, and I've never been the person that thinks that video games are mindless. They're puzzles. They're actively
Yeah,
you're it's three-dimensional thinking in video games. So and plus video games are his social tether right now. That's how he can interact with his friends.
yeah,
So we're not like letting him play video games all day every day, but definitely that is an important outlet for him, and it's one of the few that we've got. We've so few options. So yeah, to your question,
mm,
TV kind of has gone by the wayside, but
yeah.
video games are and board games too. But unfortunately, he can only play board games with me, and I'm not that cool all the time.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you, my children are in their 30s now, and
Yeah.
one of the most gratifying things to me is when they say to me, "You know what? You were right all along because TV sucks. It's manipulative." And, because that was a battle I fought for years and years.
Right.
Um,
But that's from an era of commercials. We don't really have those anymore.
yeah.
You know, when you talk about the manipulation and stuff like that. Now,
It's
for
advertising. Yeah, that's
yeah,
right.
well, for us, you know, all of our TV experience is on demand and commercial free. So,
Oh,
you
so is ours now. But in those days, you didn't have those options.
right, it
You
was
know,
very manipulative.
and it wasn't even the sort of endless numbing I want your moneyness of the whole thing. It was also the incredibly bad writing, acting, and production that you'd see. It's like, well, wait a
Right.
minute,
Yeah.
movies from the '40s. Your kids are never going to do that, But I mean that's and then you and then you become your parents, and then you're the ones saying, well, music sucked when Glenn Miller went down in the plane. I mean, it's all
Right.
you become that person, and they don't want to know.
But you know what's funny is like you know, this has been pointed out lots of times before, but you know the old music is the best music because that's the music we decided to keep
Yeah,
around.
yeah.
You know, there was lots of crap music when Glenn Miller was around too. We just haven't immortalized it.
That's true. I have Sirius radio in the car because I couldn't stand commercial radio, and you get tired of the CDs after a while, or what CDs, kids, and if you should check that out. But I
When
had
did
one of the channels is called I think it's called Tuxedo Junction. It's like or 40s Junction or something, and they
Mhm.
play that whole era, and the Andrews Sisters and Bing Crosby and Woody Herman and the Thundering Herd and all that stuff, and it's bassy and Ellington and great stuff. Every 10th song is really awful. I
Yeah,
mean, it's just stupid, and I think that's what you're talking about.
it is. You know, and so you know the oldie stations just play the hits of that era, and then we start to like delude ourselves into thinking that every song from that era was perfect. You know, but
Yeah,
they're not all Mr. Sandman, which is a perfect song, by the way. They're not all Mr. Sandman. There's I think it's the same in every era. There was probably, you know, 90% of it was crap. And, you know, the stuff that was really great, we've collectively recognized as great, and we've decided to keep it in our perpetual library.
you've just blown my mind here because go back to the 60s, and the 60s wasn't all Beatles and Stones and Motown and Otis Redding and Aretha Franklin and the Rolling Stones. There's a lot of crap back there when you really dig in. Look at those top 40 lists
Yeah.
from your local AM station. Uh, after about the top 20, there's some real shite in there. Like,
I
oh
know.
my
I know.
god.
So yeah, we you know, we create this rosy image of the past by only highlighting the stuff that we all agree is really great. You know, when the reality is they had to slog through as much terrible radio as we do today. Yeah.
But they probably weren't as persnickety as we are now.
I don't know. I don't know if those things change. Those are just those are just human behaviors that use us to express themselves.
Romanticizing the past is a terrible danger, and I've been guilty of that for a lot of my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when I did that book about Phil Bernhardt, who produced all the records locally here, um, I mean, I had to listen to everything the guy produced, right? And there was some couple of hits, Abraham Martin and John. Hey, that's nice. Whenever we all know that, but man, 90% of it was just so bad.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, this was Phil, and Phil, every single record, when he put it out, he thought this is going to be the next one. This is the big one. Ronnie Elliott told me that. He was like, he believed in everything um, until it failed utterly. And we're left with the great stuff. So, what's going to happen? Kids in 20 years are going to look back at this era
Yeah.
and think, wow, there was some great music then. Well,
There is great stuff being made, and you know, and I hope that the really good stuff sticks around.
musically, you're not done.
No,
No,
no, I'm
you're not
not
done.
done. I think I'm just, you know, I think I just realized that, you know, without pointing out the obvious, you know, white male, uh, I don't really feel like my voice is a contribution right now. Plenty of people that look like me with loud enough voices, you know, we need those voices to be listeners, you know. So I think what I did was I made a decision to be a listener and not a speaker. And any project is me speaking. I mean, you know, that when we did that Land of Confusion video, that's a message. You know, we chose that song on purpose. Um, you know, I was going to do Wouldn't It Be Nice by the Beach Boys. I chose that song on purpose, and that was a message from artists and venues to audiences that when the protest dropped while I was like just getting that project off the ground, and I'm like, I am not, that's not the conversation anymore, you know.
Yeah.
uh, and I'm not the vehicle for any conversation right now. I have to be a listener. That's my.
What
I really felt like that was my job by the nature of who I am and what I look like. I'm supposed to listen, and I'm doing that.
an admirable pursuit. At some point, the conversation is going to, taper. Hopefully, it'll never take a back seat. Okay, well, it's telling me that we're back on. I
Yeah,
mean, there will always be music, and it will always be in you, as you say, to entertain people and to make people feel good, and to
yeah.
get it out of you. So whatever the conversation is, that's not going to go away.
No, no, and yes, you know, the immediacy of the more important conversation that we're having right now, uh, like, it's hard to say. You know, yeah, I do see a future when there's room for speaking about other things. You know, I believe that there's some benchmarks we should all be hitting as a society and speaking to those benchmarks until we have hit them. Um, and maybe at a time in the future when there's more space for more varied conversation, then yeah, I'll have something to say. um, and so no, I'm not done, and I'm not waiting for this to be you know, for all this catastrophe to be over so I can start again. You know, I think, I mean, honestly, really, I think I just, I got the wind knocked out of me. I've been an optimistic person my whole life,
Yeah.
and I think you know, the when George Floyd happened, that was maybe the first time that I think my optimism was like really bruised, really, and it shut me up, and you know, I'm ready to start another project, but it needs to be, you know, it can't be a distraction. I don't want to distract from this moment, but I also realize that the I'm not the person to speak to this moment. So I'm going to collaborate with other people who've got voices that I think are louder and more important than mine, and I want to collaborate with them.
There's a place and a time for everything, and
Yeah.
hopefully everything will live together and it works. So we are out of time
Ah,
because we talked this through. So I'm gonna say, hey, I want to talk to you for a quick second after I turn the recording off. Jeremy
okay.
Douglas, thank you so much.
Thank you,
All
Bill.
right,
I still appreciate all these things you're doing.
man, it's great to check in with people. I'm gonna turn the recording off, and we'll see you real soon. Hang on a sec.